As we enter turn 6, I realize I forgot my victuals again. Those should be spent at the end of the turn. Both the English and Spanish started out of a port. The English have to get back to a port this turn. Or several ports. Let's see where they end up there. Where both sides are kind of close to the edge in terms of their finances at this point. Very limited builds underway. The Protestant Netherlands built up its troops. I'm not destroyed yet, but it's getting ugly. This northern area, here's the problem though. The Spaniards don't really want to build up an army. They're not going to have a lot of time to use it. They build it starting this turn, they'll get it next turn and be able to use it for 2 turns. But I do want a few more forces than I have available. So I built some small German mercenaries, and I'm also building some Spaniards down here with a high movement point. Those are going to serve as garrisons next year as I get kind of these slightly larger forces that I already have committed to the area into play. I'm not sure where the Burgundians come in. I would guess somewhere either Lorraine or Franche-Comté. I talked about that. We also had this sucker come in to play, and I'm going to have to pay for him, but he's protecting my boat. I don't think I really need him. The English Navy isn't going to be able to move far enough to get down here, to get down to Spain. The only thing is, you can actually use the all-coastal movement in a couple of places, so I could actually sail down there safely. Some coastal ships trying to do that, though, they're going to get hammered, and there aren't free ports on the whole way, so victualization would have to be paid for, etc. It's just not worth it. I'm not going to make it down. Nothing can be demobilized yet of the navies, but this is the turn where we're going to start moving into place to do so. And we might as well start. For the English, it's a matter of dividing up their fleet at this point. I am allowed to throw units out of the fleet to move them. Here's the problem. If I do coastal movement, I can get through here. No, I'm not in the coast right now. So I'm going to have to sail to where I go. And that may mean breaking my fleet into bits so that I can sail, for example, across to here and then across to here and try to figure out what I'm doing. This is kind of tricky because I don't want to go against the wind if I can help it, but I don't have a lot of cash here. So let's get to Chester first. I can only put six strength points in Chester. These 625s, I'm going to launch one of these, and I don't particularly want to send a leader with this. That doesn't do me any good. I'm going with the wind. It's not September yet, so we make a quick roll. And we're fine. So we make it here to Chester. Now, really, to avoid any pain, I kind of want to go with the rest to Bristol, and we'll just make a roll for that. And then I can use coastal movement to realign things. Yeah, I'll be in a port, so I won't have to pay victualization costs, so I'm okay with that. I'm still going to have to pay those maintenance costs on the ships, and I don't know if I'm going to make it. 3. So a 3 is not a good number. I take 10 movement points off, and I lose 6 steps of ships. The 6 steps of ships is what hurts. I don't want to lose these nice big guys. What I want to do is find kind of crappy things like this. That's 2 steps. I guess these will be my 6 steps of ships. It doesn't really hurt that they're sunk the way that it works. I mean, I could damage 6 different ships. That actually doesn't do me any good. So I just lost 6 more steps, and I gotta write that down. And the English were able to sail into Bristol. They're in a world of hurt at this point. Now we move on to the Spaniards, who want to sail down and get probably to Oporto and then branch out from there. Let's see, because I don't want to make multiple rolls on this chart. We saw what that did. I probably would have been better off making just a single roll to land in one place. But this allowed me to put a ship into dry dock this turn that I wouldn't get. And I'm really worried about English money. I'm less worried about the Spanish money. Let's see if I can avoid. I'm going with the wind, kind of in this off-map area. It's not covered in the rules, but it only makes sense to me. And I get a 7. That means I lose 2 movement points. I've got a 19. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We make it to Oporto, barely. And I'll be able to put one ship into dock there. And then the rest are going to be able to do coastal movement to start spreading out and getting themselves into positions where I'm not paying for them every turn. That is pretty much the naval campaigning season because we don't have the cash to do more. Now, the land campaigning season is also breaking down because we don't have a lot of troops on the board right now. The Spaniards could have gotten 2 turns worth of money of troops going. I'm going to wait till next year, though, to get things really kicking. We'll see if the English do anything during the... For land moves, things are pretty easy. The invasion of Ireland proceeds to Dublin. If we can take all of Ireland, there's something kind of cool there. It's not like we get any kind of real bonus, but essentially I don't have to worry as much about garrisoning. The English would have to land and conduct an actual invasion. That's not a terribly hard thing for them to do. Ireland's real close to them, but it does kind of, I don't know. It feels safer to me than just leaving areas open. So I may be able to shift my Spanish troops and just leave the Irish garrisons in place. I can also judge where it's valuable. So like stuff over here is less valuable than Dublin is with its 5 points. So I can garrison different locations. Over here, the English launched an attack on Brussels because they actually have a reasonable chance of taking it. But Parma switched his forces and is launching a 9.5. He doesn't quite have a 2-to-1 attack on that, but he'd like to drive it off because they have a good shot at that. Could I give something else up? Yeah. Let's move this unit from Liege. Liege is pretty easy for me to take. So that gets me a 2-to-1 attack there. Through these. I roll a 1, that's not going to get me anywhere. Now I got to calculate up and pay those big maintenance costs again. So there's one problem that I didn't realize before. Deactivation of units is only allowed under restrictions that I haven't dealt with here. English and Spanish only within their home country, except the Spanish can also deactivate German, Italian, and Burgundians in 2918. Burgundians down here. I don't know what this is supposed to all mean, but yeah. So the Burgundians or the Walloons that I deactivated are fine, but what I can't really do easily is I can't say give this up. I can give these guys up. The English aren't worried about an invasion right now. So after I paid maintenance for them, because I'm very worried, I'm down to $50, and I'm also going to be deactivating fleets here. So these guys, for example, drop into the Chester box. Which I sent too big a fleet because of this damn... There was some damn small ship in there. Son of a bitch. So I'm only allowed to send a 4 in there. Let's see, do I have a 4? No. God damn it. Yeah, I really hate the deactivation in port limits and these crappy ships on the track. That's very difficult for me to cope with. So yeah, well, I'm going to be paying probably my full thing, and I'll probably go bankrupt because of that. Bristol's allowed to have 7. Well, I've already got 2 strength points in Bristol, so I can drop a 5 in there, and that'll save me $4. Ooh! And now I've got to try to line the others up, and I'll probably not send them to the right ports because of these things on the track already. Over on the Spanish side, we've got something similar here. Oporto is a 5. Let's see, there's nothing in Oporto. No, there's a 5 in Oporto. That's a horrible place for me to have landed. But it's where I could. It's the only place I could. But that means that I can't deactivate any of them either. So, that's the end of turn 6. And we're really, not quite at the end of the campaigning season, but close enough that it doesn't really, that there's not going to be much more. I could take Brussels this turn, and then that would almost be a fait accompli. That would be pretty tough to cope with. Of course, we've lost significant amounts over in the Protestant Netherlands. Okay, no new activations here on turn 7 of new troops or anything. So I start moving the English ships, and, well, I no longer have a fleet. Which means I'm throwing away 2 munitions. That's, I don't know how much money. It was quite a bit. Probably close to 50 or 60 ducats each, so, 100 there. I've got my admirals, which I'll actually spread out a little bit. I largely want them, but I'm going to leave Drake over here. I largely want them together. I'll move the rest of them here to Chatham. Hard time. I'm not going to get them all into port by now. I may end up going bankrupt because I can't get, because deactivating the forces is too difficult. This is always one of the flaws in the game, in my opinion, is it's just too hard to get your stuff put away, for the winter. It may be realistic, it may be historical to have these limits, but they're a pain in the butt to cope with, as you can see. And now I have to do the same for the Spaniards too, and try to pick that out where they're going to go. And, it's this balancing act. It should be fairly easy because I have less ships in both cases than I had to begin with. Both sides, well, the Spaniards haven't lost as much as the English did, but both sides have lost some ships, and the Spaniards have an extra 10 shipping location points due to the errata that I didn't know existed. So I should be able to get them away. English land movement turn. I can't build the Dutch back here, so I had to build them here. Made an attack from this space, and, well, the Burgundians here fell into the fortress, so I can't actually assault them right away. The English here did not take Brussels. So they made an attempt at 2-1. They failed. Now Parma has his choices of where he wants to attack. This is actually on the board and not in place yet. I started moving my Spanish before I realized, wow, I want to make some attacks and I got to get the Dutch in. So that's why you see them on the board right now already in their moved locations. I have to decide where to attack with Parma. He's got a 2-1 on this, but this would allow the Dutch to kind of coordinate. They can bring more troops in next turn for the assault. The end result here, Parma attacked here. He failed to get any effect, so he probably would have been outnumbered hitting here. However, our little expedition in Ireland succeeded, lost 2 more units. That's not necessarily for the bad. Those are things I don't have to pay maintenance costs for, and I can't deactivate them at this point. I should have enough troops to take the rest of Ireland over. You may see the Irish loyalists pulling back into a location so that they improve their odds a little bit and have a better chance of survival. Ireland's going to be Britain's big goal in the next turn, but they have another big goal over here in the Netherlands. they've got some hard work cut out for them because they're behind in the naval race now. They're not going to get the big money. I think this one's a Spanish victory. It's just a question of how much of one. So then the question becomes, well, do the English want to try to up the ante by opening the battle up in the Catholic League for another 100 gold ducats? They don't really have the money to do that, and I frankly don't think Spain wants to do that. They're already winning, as it were, the way things are right now. Of course, they could throw a bunch of troops in from Barcelona into Huguenot France, and maybe stomp that out too, and really show the Protestants what for everywhere. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. All right, I have to pay my maintenance. I'll come back if there's a... Okay, well, no default, but the English are in serious trouble here. The Spaniards have a couple $100 or ducats to get them through the rest of the turn. But over here, I've got a 5-point army here. I've demobilized the rest of my army where I can. I've only got $16. I've got a 5-point army and a 6-pointer there. Actually, I am going to break exactly even. $10 for the army, $6 for this guy for next turn. Everything else got tucked away in bed. I got to try to find a place for him. He will fit in London. 17. I screwed up and had things reversed again because of these stupid flat shallow drafts, but there was something I could do about it, so I fixed it. Just cheating, basically. This is the kind of annoying picayune stuff that if you don't cheat to fix, can ruin the game over almost nothing. So what I would have had instead was this ship was here, and the ship that's in Plymouth right now, this 6-pointer was here. Well, the 6-pointer couldn't be in Portsmouth because that adds up to 7 and I'm only allowed 6, whereas the 7-pointer in Plymouth wouldn't work because that would add up to 10 and I'm only allowed... I'm screwed there too anyway. No, I can't do it. I don't know. I don't have a fucking clue. This should be able to sail somewhere. It was up in Bristol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't know why it was there. What the hell? I really hate this part of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. What about Harwich? Can I fit there? Harwich is a 10-point, so yes, I can fit there. What about Portsmouth here? This was allowed to go 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Why isn't it here? Why isn't it at Chatham? I don't know, because I thought I could fit in the damn places. I really despise this shit. This is the most annoying factor of the game. And it's probably why I only pull it out every 5 years or so. There's something I really like about the game, but this crap is so annoying. I just get upset when people say the rules are a problem. The rules aren't the problem. It's the game that's the problem. It's this bookkeeping aspect that's just obnoxious. All right, so I got no idea where everybody should be. Let's see, this guy could have made it to Chatham. Well, did I have somebody who could fit somewhere? I thought I did this already and thought it out. So that's a 9 and that's a 7 in Portsmouth. No, I can't fit there. Can I fit everybody in Chatham? 21, 28. No. That only holds 25. Could this guy have gotten somewhere else? Shit, I don't know. I don't think I can get 25s any. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ah, geez, I couldn't even get to Chatham with those guys. I have no fucking clue. All right, well, the English are going to go bankrupt if I don't figure this shit out. And yes, this game is this goddamn annoying. All right, I don't know how I got to Chatham, but let's see if I can fit in London. No, London's tiny. I can't fit in London. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I could make it to Harwich with that. I can't make it there. I can't make it around the border from here. Or was I in Chester? I don't know. All right, well, I think I'm bankrupt. Right? No, this is a 4-point ship. I can afford that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, so that's a 4-point ship I gotta pay for. And I think everything else is in place legitimately. But, oh man, what an annoyance. And there's some nice things about the game. If I could figure out a way to deal with slotting your ships away at the end of the year, and how to cope with it in a way that it wasn't a total headache. And it's that and the paymaster aspect where you have to figure out what you're going to spend over the entire course of the game at the very beginning, so that you don't end up breaking this limit as opposed to just cutting close to it. Between those two things, this game is far more obnoxious than it's worth. And that's kind of one of the issues, is there just isn't that much that's exciting about it. The combat's and the land movement in combat is really blah. The naval aspects are kind of neat, but I gotta say the stuff handled in the Sea Lords game is a lot more exciting with the shifting winds. Of course, that's a much more recent thing. That's worth the irritation factor. This just isn't. It doesn't come out as such. It comes out as a random die roll to see if you make it. It's not a great game because there's just so much luck. And this is all stuff that should be going in my conclusion. But you know what? I talk about what comes to mind when it comes to mind. And if it comes out in the conclusion, great. If it doesn't, too bad. I never really wanted to do those anyway. As far as I can tell, I've screwed up. I got nowhere I can put this ship. I've set it up somehow or another so that I've filled not all my ports completely. So London has 3 extra points in it. Chatham is holding 7, 13, 19. I got 6 extra points there. There's my 9 right there. Unfortunately, the only thing left is Hull up here that I haven't checked. Wait, what about the Wash? Yeah, the Wash has 3 extra points in it. Hull has 5 extra points in it. But I can't fill them because I've already decommissioned those ships. So I'm okay, I have to pay for this guy, but I don't know what happens to him over the winter. I think he's okay, but I just have to keep paying for him. I may have to pay a multiplied price, though, which is just going to hose the breads. And that's the kind of fun you get to have in this game. If they had given you a little bit more port capacity than the ships, you wouldn't have to go through all this headache. As far as I'm concerned, though, this makes the game damn near unplayable. For me. At least solitaire. I think my rating, which was a 7, is based on playing it opposed. And these kind of things don't bug me as much. I can sit there with my pipe and fiddle and think, and I'm not busy trying to play the game all the time. I've got lots of downtime in this game because my opponent's doing the same thing. But it's just an irritation solo, and I think it's, again, why I haven't pulled it out so much, and why I start cursing up a blue blaze of fun as I go. Anyway, the Spaniards are fine. The English are going to have to pay for that guy. It's probably not too big a deal. I think the only real big deal, I think there's a winter issue with victuals. I think they eat 5 times the victuals, but he's in a port, so he's not going to eat anything. So the English assault on Brussels wiped out the English troops along with the garrison, whereas Parma's assault here took a couple of step losses, but he's taken Amsterdam back. So we're back in kind of the starting position minus Breda. Over here I moved my English together. Now I've got to decide what to do with the Spaniards. Chances are I do not want to launch another attack. I don't have time before winter. And remember, I'm going to penalize anyone who's in the middle of a siege with the winter attrition rules, which are kind of bad. This is for the attacker in a siege, as though they're moving. I think that's an applicable little modifier here. So the Spaniards are just going to be moving their forces into garrison location. Maintenance costs were fairly low. I moved some Germans into the German state that got replaced by this. I don't want to get those Italians off the board. They're too valuable. I'm willing to pay to keep them in the general area, but I'm going to demobilize these Germans because I can rebuild them and use them next turn. They serve as a nice garrison, but at this point I've got the garrison I want there. Maintenance costs were fairly low. The Brits only had to pay for this ship. All their troops are off the board at this point, having been destroyed down here. We're going to see the Spaniards make a bigger push in the Netherlands, we're also going to probably see them launch another invasion in the next year. So as we move into the winter turn, we're going to have to roll for the income. And the income's flat up the same as last time because the English didn't take the treasure ship. I've taken it off the board and put it up there for the next year. So it doesn't take any port or maintenance costs, I guess. I don't know. It's not clear when you're supposed to remove it. So the Spaniards get only 2,400 this year. Can't pick anything up these days. And the English get the same 1,200 that they got last time. Now here's the problem for the English. Well, for everyone, really. This winter turn coming up, maintenance costs and victualling costs is ×5. Why ×5? That seems a little harsh, doesn't it? Like, you know. Well, it's because October, November, December, January, February, March, 5 months. It's the same cost, it's just over a long period. So the fact that I wasn't able to find a place to put my boat is a problem, but it's not a humongous problem. And you can't start building ships in the winter either. I didn't have cash before that, so this is the turn where I start, planning what the hell I'm gonna do in the next year. And it's tough because it takes a while to build new ships, for example. And the English have a real shipping deficit due to the losses that they took from the wind. Whereas the Spaniards, well, they have most of their ships on the board already. I do have a damaged ship that I could rebuild, but maybe it's better to launch the fleet, get it moving, set up the army, and go for an invasion of England. I get 300 extra ducats for that, build some extra ships to defend Spain if need be, and mainly focus on try to make England chaotic enough that the English can't take Ireland back and that they can't really respond in the Netherlands. Their cash flow should be low enough. That's my plan here. We'll see. And I've got this other little ace in the hole possibility. I can launch an attack on France. It costs me 100 ducats, but it costs the English 50 to respond. They have to play. They have to give support. And with naval support, which might be these shallow draft ships, I can actually capture some of these port locations within the course of a year. And that changes the dynamic. It's tough if you don't have the ports because, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to take 2 more areas. There's 1 here, but then I have to take a port. And those ports are tougher to take without naval support. You can assault them, but that may not be an opportunity that's available. All right, onward. I realized actually I cheated last year because I laid down my construction in the winter turn. I won't do that this turn. But it was an advantage for the Spanish last time, and it's an advantage for the Spanish not to be able to lay it down this time. That sounds like cheating. In favor of someone, actually. Nonetheless, it's kind of a strange situation. You can't build. I laid down a lot of my troops in the winter, actually. I don't think I agree with it particularly. It doesn't really make sense that you can't start raising troops or building a ship in the last month. March. I don't know. There may be some snow, but not a lot in southern England or Spain. And I think that I'm going to disregard that rule because I disregarded it before and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. No naval units may be constructed during a winter game turn. It's 5 months, You can shift it down a space. You just aren't allowed to slap it down, lay down the hull. the hell with that. I'm gonna leave it as I played it last year. I just don't think it applies. All right, so now I have to make that thinking then. I have to consider, what am I going to need? What do I have cash for? Turns out I screwed up with my Spaniards too, and this ship couldn't have been in port, so that cost me 2 extra last turn. And then for the winter, it's going to cost me 10 more points. I can't sail them anywhere. Also, Santa Cruz dies at this point. I'm left with the Duke of Medina Sidonia as my Grand Admiral, which doesn't really hurt. He's, he was a terrible commander, and that's reflected by giving him a 0, which means he can't do anything. Great. Except serve as, but he can serve as a commander, so all I'm doing is losing the 3 points that I get off of having Santa Cruz, and that's the same as if I lose, really, most of any of my other leaders. Leadership doesn't play the kind of effect on this that it does in, say, something like Europa Universalis or many more modern games. Leadership is really just a very minor factor in this, adding to the strength point total. It means a little bit more probably on the land table, although if it gives you a shift on the naval table, it's just as important, getting you on a better column. All right, so I'm trying to activate my Spanish ships, decide what I need there. The English shallow drafts have no carrying capacity, so I can't use them. So they're just activating a couple of ships, and I've thrown, down here, and I've thrown some troops on the board too to try to shift some stuff into Ireland and try to turn the tide there. Right now, though, the Spanish have a very, very powerful position because they have a couple of units, and it's tough for me to get English units that size into play there. Winter turn just ends up being really a pre-planning turn. I'm starting to move the ships forward, as I said, get troops in place. The Spaniards are throwing the full Walloons, German mercenaries, the Burgundians who come in Lorraine, all back into play because I'm going to have the preponderance of power in the Netherlands that way. I'll build up some Spaniards and start launching ships as I go forward to the Santander and Corunna is going to be my actual goal, but I've got to move my fleets up to Oporto, and that takes a little while. It takes time to assemble the Armada and launch it. And when I'm ready to do that, I'll throw a bunch of troops on board and try to get to England. For the English, things are a lot tougher. They don't have much money still. They've got the Protestant Netherlands troops coming in, but otherwise, I've kind of started building some troops towards getting into Ireland. Launched some additional ships. That's $150 worth of ships. The Spaniards didn't add any new ships to their category. Basically, it takes them too long to get their fleet together and launch it. If the Spanish don't launch the Armada in the first turn, they have a bigger fleet that they can put in. But so do the English. I don't see any real reason to delay, especially since you lose Santa Cruz coming in the second turn. Of course, you do have better capability of defending your treasure ship. But I think for the Spaniards to really win, they actually do have to do a landing. I think it's safer to do the Ireland landing. We'll see where they go this time. They may be reinforcing Ireland and just ignore the English fight, but I kind of like the idea of making the landings in England to get that 300 extra ducats. That might help fund the battles that are taking place, and see what I can take over in the Netherlands. If I can get these cities, that cleans up my problems a great deal, and it also makes it very, very difficult for the English to just go, let's bring the French into the war. Not that the English want to do that necessarily, but if it looks like it's to their advantage, I'd rather they not have that option. All right, well, I guess we're going to start shifting the ships and getting ready for that second invasion. In a lot of ways, what we're seeing here in the second half of the game is a repeat of the first half, which is to say the Spaniards start triggering a bunch of their fleets. They're going to start moving ships into play. I'm not sure done here? Santander, Oporto, Lisbon. Seville and Cadiz should have been in play already, as is Malaga. I think I missed moving them down because I put the ground troops down here. And we've got some Dutch additional troops. We've got the English beginning to kick off some additional forces, planning to move them to Ireland. For what little good that's going to do. I need to win the naval battle. That is really the only way to win the war at this point that I can see for the English. Right now we've got kind of a minor Spanish victory. If I can defeat the Armada, then I can play in these other areas. But without that, the Spaniards can drop their troops in either Ireland or England or even the Netherlands if they can sail that far down and really cause a lot of trouble to my future plans. So I've got a plan for that, and what we've got here is a beginning of the ships beginning to make ready, essentially, so that I can conduct at least minor activations in different places. I don't have a lot available here, though. I have this one in Bristol that's going to haul stuff over, and then Drake's little squadron here. The rest I've got to bring in all kind of as the Spanish Armada forms, because I don't want to reform my navy too quickly. I don't have that kind of income over here on the track. The Spaniards actually do, but you don't want to waste your money on their side either. You want to be careful and pulse what's coming in and what's, you know, what's staying in the harbor a little longer so that you don't pay extra money. And then comes the big expenditure, which is on the victuals and munitions, and that's what kicks it, really. You know, and with the English not having additional money, they again are going to be stuck to that kind of low grade commitment to being able to field their navy. On the other hand, the Spanish have lost some cash. They had maximal cash last turn. They don't have that this year. So, well, we'll start moving the ships forward to their locations, and then we'll go to the military. You can see the Spanish have the definite advantage here in terms of troops if you just look at the stacks. So they're going to be able to undertake some more attacks on the Dutch. Not a lot to it. Parma gathers his forces and ends up sieging Brill. And now he can't possibly just take it, but he can assault it, and he's got good numbers there. That left Nassau alone. Nassau could have moved and made a siege on Antwerp, which is worth almost as much, or Breda. But, and the reason they're not worth as much is Brill has a couple of steps of Dutch shipping that if it gets eliminated, it's going to go there. I may want to start commissioning that shipping to try to get it out of there. Hard to tell. But I'm kind of having second thoughts about and blowing hot and cold about moving troops to Ireland. I just don't see much advantage to it. The only thing I'm going to really gain from it is the Spanish should have moved here. Is that I could conceivably get to one of these. Let's see, if I do normal movement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I can't quite get to the ports on that side using coastal movement. And if I use non-coastal movement, I've got to deal with the sea, the wind, and the penalties for that. And that just seems kind of risky for something that's really minuscule. What we got here is another siege going on here. And those are for the couple of areas that the Spaniards have left open. The stuff facing me, I'm not going to be able to cope with. I can't siege anything with the tiny amount of troops I'm going to have. It's just going to be 2 and 2. 4 maximum. And then that kind of splits my navy up, and the navy is the big issue here. So I think I made an error in terms of commissioning the extra ship and all that, at this point, but we'll see. And now I just pay my maintenance and move. Spanish maintenance fees are very high, 122, I think. Mainly because of this big army that I gathered together. The English are spending 12 this turn, but that goes up. It's just a matter of, gee, what can you afford? What can you place where? And that's what the whole game becomes. It becomes this exercise in kind of competitive bookkeeping almost. If you screw up and don't get your ships in the right harbors, or you don't calculate your income correctly and you go bankrupt or something like that, those are the kind of things that change the nature of the game. The Spanish have to play kind of cautiously because they are probably in the lead. Well, they're definitely in the lead right now. But a 20-point swing could easily change that to a draw if they screw up their income. On the other hand, the English have to play cautiously too, because if they take that 20-point hit on them, that probably means a decisive victory for Spain. Okay, so as we come together here, treasure fleet's going to show up again. The English can't really do anything about it with that big Spanish fleet ready to act again. I could send a ship out to go try to hunt it down. It's just too risky. There isn't enough to it. I would get some immediate cash. The Spanish don't lose anything. And possibly a 2-step loss bonus. Speaking of step loss bonus, Parma managed to take Brill in the assault. Therefore, the fleet was destroyed there. 2 more steps gone. We have the gathering beginning to undertake, but the Spaniards are ready to move before the English this time. And that's kind of the problem. I had to get those English moving before. They're going to all be on the board this next turn, but they're not going to be in position to launch the Navy. The Spanish Navy is in position to launch this time. I mistimed things with the English. Perhaps. Looks that way. That's another issue with it. You're trying to save some bucks, you end up screwing up. Is it a terrible thing? Well, maybe, because it means that the Spanish Navy can actually land in northern England, which is where I'm going to aim for, before the English fleet can come into play and affect them. Of course, I could build myself a little squadron here. It's not that small. 1924 strength points. How big is the Spanish squadron? Hey, I don't know. I'm not allowed to look. But if I was allowed to look, it's a lot bigger. And that's a good enough reason that I can't attack. So I think the English are hosed here for another little mistake. Timing things a little wrong, thinking they could get away with a one-turn delay. Everything's going to be placed on the board next turn. It's just not in position to launch. So let's see. Nassau marched into Breda and laid siege to that. And the Irish battle has not been completed yet. The siege is underway, it failed. So here's one of the other problems, though. Even if the English were gathered all here and able to build their fleet, the English have to move first. What do? They can position themselves here. This is what we went over last time. They can position themselves here, and they can extend out to here. And that's as far as their control extends. So the Spanish can slip in to northern England no matter what. There's no way of preventing the invasion of Scotland, Ireland, whatever, against a Spanish attack. If they position themselves out here, they can't defend the channel. So they've got to split their fleet. If they split their fleet, which in a way historically they did, but they split it in the channel into 2 squadrons, in the game they will not get a good result. It's that simple. You need your big stack to hit their big stack, and that's all you've got. The only other alternative would be, okay, well, what if I instead launched a counterattack down into Spain? And that may be my only real answer here, is to try to take Spanish ports. It's a long walk, though. English troops 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to Madrid. But And it's this kind of sort of ahistorical type maneuvering that you're going to start seeing, because there really isn't a balance of defense and offense. If the Spanish launch their attack, the English can launch their own. I started charging my my maintenance fees. I realized, oh shit, I forgot to move this. So he's going to move with the wind, and it's good weather. 10, that's fine. We'll sail him down as far as Seville. And again, he's on the board. I can throw him into the Seville box. I don't know what to do with him, but I'm assuming if the British can capture that, that's an extra bonus for them there. Okay. And I'll continue calculating. It's going to be a little higher than last time because we have more fleets, but we didn't build more armies, and armies are expensive. Mistake about that being an English error. I did the same thing last time. I've got the ships all over the place, but I can build 6 separate armadas or whatever. 1, 2, 3. I only need 4. Staff them all up with the munitions and victuals they need, and then move them together. I may leave them in Plymouth this time, just because I can't interdict the Irish Straits and the English Channel at the same time. So, well, this is where the real riches are. I'll let them land over on the west coast and deal with that when it happens, right? I may have to build a bigger army, but I'm hoping to smash the Navy this time. We'll see. Last time I didn't come out terribly well out of it, but I should be able to do it. Now I go to this really annoying calculations phase. And seriously, it really is annoying. Maybe not as frustrating as the trying to get the boats in the right places, but you end up juggling numbers in such a way that, you know, it reminds me of actually a harder version of after the Holocaust in terms of juggling numbers to get your proportions where you want them. And you're kind of guessing, how many turns am I going to be out there where I need victuals? You know, last time my 2 turns victuals wasn't enough for the English. Well, it was, but it meant I couldn't launch another attack and a follow-up. So your options are restricted by what you can afford, etc. And who knows? It could have been that my munitions wouldn't have been enough. It's very, very hard to guesstimate what you're going to need aboard your ship, and it's very expensive to fail to guesstimate. As we saw in the other one, the munitions, well, the Spanish ended up not using either victuals or munitions to the extent that they bought, and the English ended up with extra munitions, and there's no way to tell. You know, you can make your guess, but that's all it's going to be. Alrighty, well, on to this kind of painful thing. And, you know, the game may be a fairly quick game because there's so little to do most of the time, but if you don't spend the time and the effort to count this all out and double count it and triple count it, you end up paying the price. So I would guess it's probably like a 4-hour game, but with, like, you know, an extra hour and a half of obnoxious bookkeeping at various times that just gets weaved into it. Maybe it's more like a 2-hour game with that extra hour and a half. English finances again make it tough to victualize fully. I put my munitions up to 5 because I want to win the naval battle before I move down to Spain maybe, but I don't know if I can make it with the victualization level I have. Of course, maybe I can go back and regain it, but I feel like I have to smash the Spanish fleet. The alternative, just running straight down, that's against the wind. It's not really a pleasant prospect. Of course, I'm gathered here at Plymouth. Now let me see. Yeah, I've got to keep the channel under control, because if the Spaniards get into the channel, they're going to be able to take things more easily than I would like them to be able. It's too easy to grab London, which is, you know, worth 25 victory points, or some of these other rich areas. The areas up here are a little less rich, and if they make the landing here, it's going to slow them down a little bit more, I think. I also can shift some troops northward, but I got to be kind of careful. There are no zones of control or anything like that to protect me here. Okay. So the English have moved all their fleets there. I kind of did that in turn with purchasing the victuals, so I didn't have to have, 4 different fleets on the board. But now it's the Armada's turn, and we're going to launch that sucker with the wind. Let's see what we roll. If we roll really bad, it'll hurt. And we roll really, really well, so nothing bad happens. So we have, I think we have a damaged ship, so we can only go 21. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And I'm going to drop the troops off. And that immediately causes me to get 300 more ducats, which will help my cause tremendously. And some rolls on the tables here. So let's see what we get here. These event tables. And yes, this is probably the first time I've ever played where the French haven't been brought into the war. I just don't think it was a good buy for the Spanish this time, and the English never really want to do it. Okay, so let's look. Spanish landing in England or Ireland. I consult Catholic revolt table and Scottish intervention table. And if any Scots Catholics occur, the Scots Protestants will show up. Okay, so when do these show up? Yeah, actually, the Protestants show up later. Okay, let's check the English Catholics. Let's see how many strength points we get. We get a whole strength point of English Catholics. Joy. Well, here's the thing, though. I can grab something that I can't get otherwise, like Harwich. And there, I've just knocked out 2 more steps of English ships. Ships that I couldn't use. They're these shallow drafts. I don't really want to. I mean, look at them. I'm paying 1 maintenance point per ship strength point. Those just are not worth having on the board for their cost. Now let's look at the Scottish intervention. And I'm going to give 4 strength points of Scots. And you can see this can be highly variable. Do I want to take that all in one big lump sum? Or do I want to split it up? I think my losses are sufficient that having some small units to garrison with is more useful. So I'll put them here in Edinburgh. I had 4 units, I think. Alright, so I either dropped someone or I didn't have that many in my hand. Oh, there's the extra one. Okay. God damn it. Yeah, I didn't. This map is too new. For a 1978 game, it's still poochy. It hasn't been played. Or maybe I've done it once with this map. So, yeah, I must have done it at least once. Now, how did the English, the Scotch Protestants show up? They will be showing up in the English land movement phase, and that'll be all of the Scottish Protestants, which is, according to this, quite a bit. So we're going to be getting some 7 strength points of Protestants. That probably didn't work out too well. My revolt is weaker than the response. Not just the Scots, but if you throw the English in too. Oh well. All right. Well, that's the end of the naval phase. Now it's time to play with the land units. And these are going to show up immediately. I get to move them around. Kind of screwed up there. These can't go in Edinburgh. They have to go in the Highlands. And that means I can throw my Protestants in Edinburgh, which is important because Edinburgh is worth victory points. Nothing else in Scotland is. And now I've got to kind of make a shift downward with these northern troops and try to cover all the cities, slow the Spaniards down in their attacks so that I can get some ground troops on the board to defeat them. You'll see I've put Leyva in charge here because I think I'm going to need every little bit of help in the land battle I can. The naval battle, how worried am I about it? You know, in a sense, I may actually want to launch my attacks out into Spain next turn, simply for the reason that I can shoot those up. But what about victory points? Well, there's a lot of points down here in Spain, and they're all unprotected. And I just, I don't, the crapshoot of whether or not I can wipe out the Spanish Navy is just that. It's a crapshoot. And I only have 2 turns worth of victuals. That's enough to get me down there, land some troops there, and start the war down there. How about the Spaniards? They have a decent amount of forces, but nothing huge. This may be interesting. We finished things up. The English gathered some forces at Plymouth. That weakened their overall position. We got Leyva sieging London, and then troops here at Chester, and also Berwick. Just kind of blanketing the English territories. Grab as many as they can, start fighting this out. Now, of course, here's the problem. The English can sail down here. And this is totally unreasonable, right? And if the English can get, you know, a landing down into the richer area of Spain, there may be more points there. There are some Spanish troops, though, that can prevent that from becoming a likely problem. However, most of them aren't being built. I'm only building one down in Seville. So I may have more points to gain by sailing my ship down to Spain at this point, just because the Spaniards were kind of stupid and didn't garrison everything. Trying to get by on the cheap, which is what the English are doing. The English have to raise an army to try to cope with this problem, and we'll do that. We'll see what that does. Meanwhile, Nassau took Breda back, and Parma is sieging Dunkirk, which has another boat on it. And, you know, I mean, this just sort of feels ridiculous to me, is really the issue. I'm not sure that these are the best moves to make strategically, but it's one of the problems with the game. It's a shame when something... There were some clever ideas here, but it's really a shame when one of the very few games on kind of an obscure subject matter ends up being this kind of weird little, you know, outguessing, out accounting type game with maybe, you know, a lot of luck in terms of what's going to happen in the outcome. You make your plans and, oh, hey, you were clever enough to get them all to kind of work. So you landed your troops and you didn't go bankrupt. That's about the skill level in the game, is that's what you're spending most of your effort on. And then, well, it all comes down to, you know, some lucky die roll on one of these. There's only, you know, there's a decent shot that you're just not going to take a city once you start assaulting it. And that gives the opponent an extra turn to throw up additional troops. So that could be a 20 victory point swing based on, you know, some little die roll effect. And that's what we got down here too. Although the Spaniards, I don't think, can resist what the English can throw after them, because here's what the English can do. This is really ugly, but this is what's brilliant in a sense. The English can throw these 30 and 20 point one-step units on the board. I put them out for next turn. They're not going to show up next turn, but they show up the turn after that. They march in. If they can get an attack off, now, they're going to have to be a siege, so I have to pay maintenance for at least a turn there. But I can get a huge attack off and then take the hit on them and destroy them, so I don't have to pay any further maintenance on them. Of course, I could also demobilize them after the attack, but it's just sort of they're kind of cool for that, in that I don't have to keep paying for them. I can just use them for a single good die roll shot. Of course, if they survive it, hey, I may go bankrupt and there's 20 victory points. lots and lots going on here that's all really kind of silly when you come down to it, especially the English considering a counter invasion of Spain while they're being occupied. That's just weird. Okay, I gotta count my maintenance. It's gonna be about what it was last time, and then it looks like we move on to turn 4. These costs are a little higher than I expected, about 200 for the Spaniards. A lot of troops on the board. And they all just came into play this time, all these Spanish troops. Obviously, I'm not paying for the rebels. And then also for the English, around 50 total, because more troops are showing up there. Obviously, there's a surprise factor in this situation. The Spanish are indeed building some troops in Lisbon and Madrid to help reduce the possibility of this being a devastating blow. I don't know how likely the English ship is to get down to Lisbon, but if they do, well, I'm in trouble no matter what. On the other hand, a landing down here might be possible, which would put Madrid in threat. I don't know how big the forces that are being sent are. It looks like they're speed 5. I don't know that though, but let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They won't quite reach Madrid, which means I'll be able to get some troops in place before the English could possibly reach there. Lisbon is so valuable that I'm taking the chance that the English won't be able to just strike it. But it's quite possible that the Spanish player would just be saying, and the English could land there. I wouldn't put that past myself, certainly, or some of the opponents that I've had. Others, I might look and watch them build troops there and say, why are you building troops down in Spain? You can't get them here. Well, I'm not all that clever all the time. On the English side, however, they're building up huge forces at Hull especially, and they may not be able to afford this, but they feel like they have to try to defend the situation. If I get a bad roll coming out of Plymouth, maybe I'll go up and hit the Armada. We'll see. Right now, I've paid the munitions, the victuals for these fellas here. I can always drop them off if I don't like my die roll result, and I get first move. Yeah, but the Spanish fleet gets to chase me, right? Okay, so I'm going against the wind. This is in an August turn. The Spaniards had better get home soon. Against the wind, 3, 20 and 8 steps. Oh, good Lord. Okay, so I lose 20 movement points and 8 steps. I'm just screwed, basically. There's 2, 4, 6, 8 steps. And I'm down 20 movement points. Well, those 8 steps go here. This is the worst I've ever seen England get. That's 6, 7, 8. Normally the Spaniards, I've had them get caught by the English and smashed. But also, maybe I made up different rules. Maybe I'm making them up this time. Who knows? Okay. But it seems pretty clear to me from the rules that everything I've done is more or less in line with the game. So I'm not sure why I had such a hard time, except that the Spanish got themselves tied up in a French war with all their troops there and had to pay so much on that they just weren't able to launch this kind of invasion. So at minus 20, I have ships that can only go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't even reach the Armada here. Do I want to leave ships behind? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, if I leave ships behind, I can at least attack. Oh, but I don't want to leave this behind. But they're going to just slip away up here and get out of my way. And that's something I can't afford to let them do. Okay. Move to here. We're going to leave the troops behind in Plymouth. And we're going to try our attack. And, well, there's the Armada. Let's see what the strengths are. They're not going to be pretty. This is no good either. The English have lost very badly. All right, let's see. 15, 29, 39, 49, 51, 62, and 6 is 68 strength for the Spanish. And because I don't know what's in a stack, obviously this might happen. To 25, 30, 31, 34, 35, 39. So I'm attacking at 39 to 68. That can't be good. It's going to be minus 29. That puts me on the worst chart in the game. We each have to spend a munition. Because I don't remember. Oh wait, no. The Spaniards don't, because it's the less than negative 20, right? Alright. And the attacker takes a step loss, and the defender does not. There's another one. Well, I think it's pretty clear that I'm not going to win this on a naval battle. So I'm going to stop attacking. No, the Spaniards didn't intercept. They didn't realize how weak that English fleet is. Oh, I've got ships down here that I didn't move. They wouldn't have been able to reach using coastal movement. And they're not provisioned for anything else yet, or probably ever. Okay. So now it allows me to move my Spaniards. And I would like to set sail to avoid losing lots of ships. I don't see what the English ships are going to be able to do to me. So I'm going against the wind here, though. Before I was able to slip around the Irish coast. This time not so easily. This is the trip that the Spaniards actually made. Okay, so we go against the wind here. And we get a 9. We're going to lose 10 movement points. Our slowest ship is a 21. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now here's something important. I'm going against the wind and then with the wind, but that's okay. I think I covered that before. Now we go over to the English land movement and see if they can do anything to keep the invasion of England from continuing the way it has. In the land phase, the English didn't have a lot they could do. Nassau moved in and laid siege to Antwerp. That means next turn he's able to make an assault on it. Parma split his forces, half of them approximately hitting at Dunkirk. They didn't get in. The other half moving against Nassau and failing to dislodge him. Over here, De Leyva has taken London, which is the big action. The rest of the forces, I think, have largely been ineffective. We had a mutual elimination at Chester, which leaves it in British hands. And mutual elimination up here at Limerick, but the siege continues. Now I'm allowed to start demobilizing things. Well, first I have to pay the maintenance, which might be a big toll at this point. It's not going to be huge. And then I can start demobilizing things. And among the things I can demobilize this. The English are not going to be able to get down there now, although I've got some extra troops showing up on the board. Otherwise, probably not a lot or any. So there's no easy way for the English to get home here. They're going to have to move against the wind. And the roll was not a good one again. It's a 4. Against the wind means they lose 20 movement points and 4 more steps. They don't have much left. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 steps. There's one little ship left. Well, one squadron or whatever. It's small enough that actually I can sail into Chester with it, but I might as well let's see if I can get to Bristol. Bristol can only hold 7. That's what I have right now. It's not the perfect solution, but I'm going to sail down to Bristol. The reason it wouldn't be perfect is because I can't turn it into a larger ship there in Bristol. But there is no turn after this one, so the heck with that. I'm just trying to find it someplace where I don't have to pay maintenance costs for it. For the Spaniards, they get to sail home, and they're going to be going with the wind this time. They don't get a good roll. They get a 8 off their movement. They have a 21, so it's a 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They're not home yet, so they'll have to keep paying maintenance, and they'll have to keep paying victuals, but they have enough to make it home, probably. Well, almost certainly. The only problem is next turn is October. October means we're going to be rolling on this nasty chart, which is actually worse than the against the wind chart. Uh-oh. So we could take some significant losses on our fleet, but those losses are not proportional to the size of the fleet. However big your ship is, your squadrons are, however big your fleet is, you just lose a certain number of steps due to it. So sending small squadrons out, chances are fairly good that they could all get wiped out. But if you send a big armada out, chances are that it'll make it mostly intact, even on a bad roll. So it's not like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like you'd expect. You'd expect really bad weather to affect the ships proportionally rather than just hitting them, you know, with some default value. Now we go to the land phase for the whole sequence of attacks going on here as the Brits try to clear England. Might as well take care of them so you get to see what's going on one last time. So I've got 7, 8, 9 strength points here against 2 in Antwerp. That gives me 4 to 1. I guess that's the greater than 3 to 1, not just 1 strength point greater. And we get a 6. I take 2 steps, they take 3. Well, there's their 3. And my 2, do I survive? Yes. So Antwerp's fallen, for whatever that's worth. And got other attacks here. This is going to be a siege. This is going to be a siege. The Spaniards don't have a lot of strength. They want to hold London. I don't know how likely I am to take it, but I think I've got pretty good odds. I got my 30 strength point unit. I covered here in case this doesn't go well. And it may well not. So I've got 20, because this guy's halved. And I'm facing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got a 2 to 1 attack. I'm probably not going to wipe them out. In fact, I do nothing. And Edinburgh's been opened up, so I would guess Spaniards are going to run into there. And they're going to perhaps try to run around and see if they can get anywhere else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only if I've got a fast unit. I don't think I have any. Oh, yes, I do. I guess those are cav or something. They're able to move pretty quickly. That's all I know. All right. Well, that was kind of a dumb situation because there are ships in the wash that are going to be destroyed by that. But that's life, right? Okay, on to the Spaniards. Well, if I lay siege here, I can assault it next turn. So I'm going to continue my attacks there and there. Can't really free anything anywhere else. I've got all these. I own the rest of 1, 2, 3, 4, just in case I don't. I own the rest of Ireland. The Brits aren't going to be able to get there. So let's see what we got here. I want to send a strength point up to Edinburgh. I want to send this guy down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He just took the wash. That's 2 more steps of English ships. If I can draw, the angle's not good for me there. And these others, well, I've got a siege going on. There's no reason to lift it. That English force may be a problem, but it may not. It can't siege me. It can't take me out of there. So if I get the town, I actually get it. So there we are. Let's take care of these rolls. Let's start, well, first of all, Parma can siege this. And there's no danger of the English. They can't sweep into Germany, Dutch, I'm sorry. So I can leave Brill. I own that now. So let's start over here at Limerick. There's 2 strength points. I've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to 2. I get a good enough roll that I'm going to get to kill things. That's all I really need. I just like to kill things. And I lose with just 1 step. I'm going to lose my Spaniards, so I don't have to pay maintenance on them. Over here, this is an ongoing siege, so I get to roll. It's 3 strength points. I've got 2 to 1 on it. I've got a chance of taking it. But I don't, which could be bad news for these guys, but it wasn't last turn. Down here I can't do anything. Over here I have 5. I have 26 to 8. That sounds like a 3 to 1. Not a greater than 3 to 1, I would assume. The rules aren't specific about that, I don't think. So I take a step and they take 2. Let's take a German. They're expensive. And the Dutch go away. And there goes Dunkirk, which also has 2 steps. I'm just darkening that one in. That didn't really count. And the final down here, well, I actually am attacking, and the Dutch are giving me a siege there. So I get a siege roll next turn, which is October. If I don't get it by then, I'm in kind of trouble. But I can still camp out there. I just can't make siege rolls without taking attrition. There's no winter turn, though, so the game's over at that point, no matter what. Now I pay my maintenance. The Spanish are perfectly fine. They've got 500 bucks left after paying about 200 again. The English, however, had to pay 160, which means they don't have another 160 for next turn. They could go bankrupt if they're not careful. Now, I could demobilize something, but I really need to make those attacks. So I got some problems, and I'm going to leave my troops as they are. In fact, that's about all there really is. Yeah, that's about all there is. I've stowed my navies away so they don't cost me next turn. I got to be careful to get these leaders out of the way of potential Spanish marauders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would suck to lose all my leaders. It's not worth anything in the game terms, but, you know, just not something I'd like to see have happen. And, well, Portsmouth's worth a decent amount. Portsmouth and Plymouth, sorry, are both worth 10. Chatham's worth 10. There's a lot of places that are worth more than the wash, so I could abandon that if need be with the Spaniards, if they're still available. There's a possibility or a good chance that I'll attack them and they'll take it as a siege and not be free any longer to ravage around the English countryside. We'll see. One more turn. It's pretty damn clear the Spanish are doing very well compared to what they did historically. However, in the game turns, I mean, they're certainly winning. Right? Because the English have no points and the Spaniards have taken a chunk out of the Dutch Netherlands up here. They've taken all of Ireland, and they've taken, they've caused problems in England, which are going to be worth some residual points. I would assume that they're not going to lose everything. How much is it? Well, I don't know. Plus there's those Navy points, which are significant too. But there's 15 points right there. So everything beyond the Netherlands is just gravy for them at this point. They've only lost 1 point due to shipping. They could lose another one on this upcoming turn. Or they could lose more points on this upcoming turn, though. Conceivably as much as... they're going with the wind, so they could lose 10 steps, so that's 3 more points. But that's not much, right? I mean, a town is worth 5. All right, starting off the final turn, some more Dutch showed up that had been pre-planned, and I've got this Armada to move. It's moving with the wind on the bad table. Oh, that's not good. I lose 20 movement points and 8 steps. Doesn't really matter what the 8 steps are. I mean, the game's over. 1, 2, 3. I should take it on to the biggest ship so I don't screw up. 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to take 8 and keep this little guy. Just because it's such an annoyance if you do screw up. Okay, so 8 steps is a pretty big hit here. But, you know, it's just one hunk of the fleet. Now 20 movement points is another hit. Ah! That means I only have 1 movement point left on this ship. Alright, that's not good. We barely moved, and we're going to have to undergo that table again next turn. This one. Well, there is no next turn. Great. Okay, but that's not pleasant for the Spaniards. And I don't know. I don't think I spent my victuals last turn, which means they may just start starving to death out there after this play. Anyway. After that, we go to the land phase, and I gotta deal with my Brits. I'll move them around off camera. Alright, another bunch of attacks. Now this one's first, and I'm probably not gonna be able to take it out. There's 5, 6. I've got 20. I got 3 to 1 against them. And the rest of my moves are dumb because I'm not gonna be able to take them out. But I think this is all over. So I take 2 steps. They take 3 and a retreat. Well, there's my 3. And now the English can advance into Berwick. Oh, no, they can't. They're destroyed. In fact, I lost 2 steps, so Berwick is empty. This guy didn't have to join in. I'll leave him there. Over here, do I want to withstand this? No, I'm going to let it be a siege. I think that's what I would have decided. Over here, I have a siege. 6 strength points to 2, that's 3 to 1. I take 2, they take 3. Well, that wipes us out. And yeah, I'm just throwing things in the back box now because they're all going to go in the bag. And here I have an attack at 34, 36, 41, 42. I should have spread some of these out probably. 5, 6, 7, 8. Tripled is 24. Wow, is that just 1 to 1? 30, 36, 41. Yeah. That's harsh. 5, 6, 7, 8, 24, yeah. Oh well. I roll a big 6, I take 1, they take 2 in a retreat. Now, I don't know what the retreat does. For my 1, because I'm going to have to pay maintenance and I don't want to pay for that big unit, I'll destroy it. But what did they get? 2 and a retreat. Do they have 3 steps here? They don't. They only have 2, which means Leva's captured or killed or something like that. And London is retaken. I'm not sure. I don't think the retreat has an effect on a siege. I don't think it wins it for you. That puts it over on the Spanish hands, and, well, we've captured this, so we're just going to, spread about to grab the things that we need. But what about down here? We own Edinburgh already. We'd like to take something else. I don't think we own either of those. So the best we're going to be able to do is take one more thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll go down to Chester. I'll mark Edinburgh with a little thing so I remember I have it. But over here I have this siege underway here, and I can move these Germans. So I've got a siege here which I can't really look at, but I should know kind of how big it is, but I don't really. I'm not going to be able to undertake another siege. Nothing else is going to happen, so I'll just bring these troops in and do the best I can. So I'm facing 8 and I have 14, 19, 22, 34, 44 to 8. That's more than 3 to 1. I take 2 steps, they take 3. I'll take 2 of my big Germans because I want to clean them up anyway. And they get 3 steps, which means Antwerp and everything in it gets captured again, or recaptured, as the case may be. That's it, right? Well, I gotta pay maintenance costs. I'm only really worried about the English for maintenance. I'm not gonna worry about the Spaniards. I know they have enough cash. For the English, my ships are all aside, so let's just look at what I have here. 2, 7, 12, 13. Those guys didn't run away to be safe. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I owe 34 bucks. I have that easily here. So that's no big deal. The big thing there being, if I couldn't make it, I'd get that 20-point disadvantage. Well, what about points? Yeah. So the Spanish have taken these for 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 39, 43, and 2 is 45 points so far. 10, 15, 30. So that's 10 more points for ship loss from the English. But I've got 11, so I subtract 3 from that. And we're at 52. Let's see how that works out. If this is not a strategic victory, I'm a little worried about what you need to do to get one, because this is pretty impressive. And indeed it is. It only takes 36 points to get a decisive victory. So, like many times when I do things on video, this is a completely different result than I've ever gotten before. Normally in this game, I feel handcuffed as the Spanish. I try to, launch an attack in the first year and don't get around to it because I'm also going into France, trying to trigger things there, going in heavier in the Protestant Netherlands, just expending a lot more effort and money, and I realize I can't do it. And then by the time the second year runs around, well, I either decide that I can't do it, or I'm taking a kind of shoestring approach to it, where yes, I'm able to launch the ship, but maybe I only have like 3 munitions on the track. I don't have a huge army to land. And then when I land in England, it's just not enough. It gets wiped out. Here, I was able to do what I think is almost an unbeatable strategy unless the English sail up and crush your navy, which is hitting Ireland first, landing a big enough force there to handle whatever the Irish loyalists end up being, and to conquer all of Ireland. Keep enough strength on the Netherlands. And then, well, I got lucky with the British fleet being hit. What if the British fleet hadn't been hit? Well, the English could then ship troops into Ireland and defend it. Okay? But as long as the Spanish Navy makes it back okay and doesn't get wrecked by the wind in the first year, they provide a strong threat in the second year. Alternatively, I could hold off and make the Irish landing in the second year only, save up my cash. The English are going to be more potent at that point, though, and they may be able to chase down my navy and do a lot of damage to it, and then start shipping troops either into Ireland or into Spain if the Spanish are too involved, say, in the Netherlands. I think this is the best chance for Spanish victory. I think it actually tilts the odds in their favor. Every other time I played it, the English won easily. Even if the Netherlands got knocked out, the expenditure of effort by the Spanish there meant that an English raid on Spain worked, or something like that. But here's the problem. There's so much opportunity to screw up something, to forget about something, to even in solo play, where I allow people to kind of go back and, oh no, fix that, whatever. There's just so much opportunity to screw something up and get hit by a surprise attack by the opponent that I'm not sure what to even call that. It's almost like luck in the sense that if you do not protect yourself against a situation that your opponent has in mind and has purchased the victuals, etc., to be able to launch an attack of the proper size and scale, well, then you lose. In this case, though, I think the British West Coast and Ireland is just too vulnerable for the English to be able to protect all that. I don't know. That's how it feels after this time. Of course, you've seen me play other games like Tito or I'm trying to remember the other one, where I'm constantly thinking that it's unbalanced, but not sure which side it's unbalanced for. Tito's that case where, this one in the past, it's always felt like the English have so strong a position, but I just think I haven't been thinking carefully enough. And my hope had been actually that something I did very recently, let's see if it's there, Freedom in the Galaxy, was of this nature, where I just didn't see something, where playing on video actually and expounding on everything made it easier for me to come up with a strategy that I haven't come up with before. Almost the same way that facing an opponent who knows the game, in a way that you don't. Normally when I've had an opponent in the game, it's the first time they've played it really. So that's not terribly helpful. All right, well, it was neat to see this happen. But again, as in most solitaire playings of this, I'm left quite a bit disappointed with the game. Opposed play, I've always kind of enjoyed a little bit more, because half the burden's not on me. You could say that with everything, but in this case, that burden is really painful.